What if your favorite childhood game turned into a terrifying nightmare? That's the question the game Mario 85 aims to answer. Mario 85, or Mario PC Port as it was initially known, tells the story of a boy named Lucas, who's received an NES and Super Mario Bros. For Christmas. Being a child with not a lot to do, he starts playing it the next day. After a brief introduction by the devs, the player is met with a relatively normal-looking title screen. When you start the game, you'll notice that you're playing as Luigi instead of Mario, and the name in the upper left says Lucas. Okay, that's a little fourth wall breaking, but the game still plays properly, right? Not exactly. Right away, you'll notice the screen glitch for a split second and all the question mark boxes have changed to already being activated. As Lucas progresses further, you'll notice other things are off too. The music doesn't sound quite right. Hitting Goombas gives 0 points, and you can't go down familiar pipes. After jumping the first gap, you'll encounter a weird interruption. An intimidating evil Mario figure will beckon the player. Upon returning to gameplay, the time of day will have changed to a nighttime setting. When you reach the end of the stage, finally, you're presented with the big reveal. The text pops up, word by word, narrated by the aforementioned menacing figure. The screen pans right and we see that some of the level scenery has changed. The hill asset looks crusty and has a single eye socketed into its apex. The clouds have a twisted, maniacal expression, complete with a grin bearing sharp teeth, and the flagpole marking the end of the level is broken, with only a sharp, bloody tip pointing upward, as if someone was already impaled on it. We see Toad jumping up and down from the entrance of the nearby castle, which appears dilapidated. Then there's Mario, to the right of him, just standing there. What's going on here? Soon enough we find out. Mario reveals himself to be the menacing figure from before. His name is MX and he performs a roaring transformation revealing his true form, which sends Toad flying into the flagpole with such force that he's cut in two, the bloody pieces of his body falling off the screen. The screen pans back to the player's position and the text "Run" flashes. The chase has begun. Without being entirely certain where we are supposed to be running to, it is at least clear that the goal is to get away from MX because Lucas is next on his hit list. As you run left, you'll notice that the level layout has changed a bit and that it will be a challenge to maintain forward momentum as you do your best to clear the obstacles in your path. Mess up a few times and MX will surely catch up with you and you'll have to start the chase over again. Welcome to the main concept of Mario 85. You may die a few times, but with a little practice, you'll be able to avoid death at the hands of MX. Watch out though for one of the best jump scare reversals I've seen, especially in the context of an 8-bit video game. MX plummets into a bottomless pit, but then re-emerges complete with a visualization of his signature "Wahoo" line, only this version sounds anything but joyful. Enter the pipe on the left and you're greeted with MX's farewell message. It's fun, isn't it? Playing? I guess we really are one alike. Ha. This game isn't over. Remember that, Lucas. You also get a nice audio clip from him. The game I just described was a submission for the 2021 Luigi Kid Creepypasta Challenge. I don't normally play fan games, but this one caught my eye because of how closely it sticks to the original Super Mario Bros. Graphical style, while adding its own unique creep factor and the adrenaline rush of a good chase sequence. There are currently a few different versions of it available to download and play, but none of them represents a completed product yet. That being said, fan reception has been very strong and positive, with people clamoring to know when the final game will be completed. So how do you go about playing this game? You can get it on GameJolt, a site where indie developers can upload and share their games. I'll admit I'm not a frequent visitor, my account has been sitting untouched since 2019, but diving into this game was well worth revisiting the platform. On the original Mario 85 GameJolt page, there are 3 different versions of the game you can download and play. They are the original release, an unreleased update for the original release, and a remake of the 1-1 level. I'll go over each of them here. The original release was called Mario PC Port and is just one level. This is the version described at the beginning of the video. It arguably has the creepiest delivery of all the versions, featuring Mario's transformation to MX, Toad's gruesome death, and the first iteration of MX re-emerging from the bottomless pit with the distorted Wahoo audio. To me, it has the best MX character design as well. Where could the game go from here? A pretty interesting direction, as it turns out. Mario PC Port Update features an updated title screen, now calling itself Mario 85. A neat thing about this one is that if you wait for a few seconds, a distorted version of the Time Running Out jingle will play, and the screen will glitch and stretch out, then send the player to the first stage. This update introduces a mostly complete stage 1-2, beginning with a distorted MX growling. The objective of this level is to hide from MX using various points of cover. Points of cover in a Mario game? Right, this version of 1-2 is slightly different from the original in that there are blocks you can run behind, and that's where you're supposed to hide whenever Giant MX appears in the background for a few seconds. Very creepy and very cool. Finally, after some time running, you'll come across the right edge of the map, drop down and be forced to continue running left, while still taking cover every few seconds to avoid death by MX. You'll know the level is almost over when one of MX's arms flies in from the right edge of the screen. You should be able to jump over the glove part and continue running while the rest of the sleeve sails past. Eventually you come to the far left edge of the screen. There's nowhere to go from here, and this is the end of the demo. Still, I thought this was a very cool peek at what is in store for the game. It varied its approach from a chase sequence while still keeping the core Mario gameplay and not being overly challenging once you figure out the hiding mechanic. This version of Mario 85 left me excited for possible other mechanics the finished game could have. Finally, there is Mario 85 1-1 Remake Demo. It doesn't present any new mechanics, but improves on the existing chase sequence substantially. When starting the game, the player is presented with a more authentic Super Mario Bros. Title screen. In this version, you can hit the question mark blocks at the beginning of the level, and it also prevents you from running backwards, which is true to the original game. You can go down the first pipe and collect some coins, and jumping on top of Goombas will even give you 100 points. Everything seems normal, until you clear the second gap. The game cuts to a shadowy Mario figure, breathing heavily, watching the player. Okay, that was pretty weird. Also, you'll notice the sky gets a little darker around this point. Nothing too worrisome though. Then you'll jump over a new gap and watch a glimpse of Mario receding behind a nearby hill. Okay. This little detail is really well executed, just like the heavy breathing part. Less is more, especially before the big reveal, and Mario is doing a pretty good job of just hanging back and being creepy. As the player keeps moving right, the time of day will change to night. Eventually, when you reach the castle, you'll see Mario. Hey there, champ. Thanks for coming. Oh wow, he's being very friendly. He goes on to state that he left us a present at the beginning of the level. Fantastic, let's check it out. Sure enough, once you put enough distance between yourself and Mario, you'll hear MX scream Lucas's name as he races to catch up with you at a rapid pace. This current version of MX is a little smaller in stature, but still pretty scary. He's also more nimble than the one in Mario PC Port, providing a much more ample challenge than before. Luckily, Lucas can jump on MX's head, rendering him immobile for a few seconds. You can also jump over him right near a gap and he'll fall in, giving you an even bigger lead ahead of him before he catches up. Fair warning, this version's MX in the final stretch is even bigger and badder than before, allowing very little or no margin for error at all. After over an hour containing many failed attempts, I was finally able to complete this version of Mario 85. Wow, what a thrill. Now I want to talk about the differences between the original Mario PC port and the 1-1 remake. Comparing them both, I think they're tied for creepy cloud designs. The original's clouds have an evil expression that kind of reminds me of Undertale, whereas the remake's clouds have expressions that look more like, "Help, my face is melting off! Get me out of this nightmare dimension!" The remake gets the creep factor just right, but the original nails the MX transformation, complete with the gruesome toad death. The original has a wackier, more erratic wahoo text effect, but the remake improves on MX's character design at this part, and his voice effects are even more nightmarish. So remake edges out the victory on this one, in my opinion. Really, they're both great versions, but highlighting their differences is a fun thing I've enjoyed doing. As someone who grew up with the original Mario, this was both a nostalgic and thrilling treat to encounter. I first saw an Instagram post about it, noting the extreme anxiety the player is bound to feel when playing it. The concept seemed so simple but so well executed that I felt I just had to play it myself. It's clever how it uses small visual and audio changes to make the familiar feel unfamiliar. And by keeping the mechanics of the original game and adding a terrifying chase to it, it appeals to both fans of retro and horror games. I can't wait to see what the devs come up with in the next big release. Even if you don't normally play fan games, if this video has captured your interest even a little bit, I highly recommend that you check it out. Thanks for listening to me ramble on. I appreciate you sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like and comment. Either way, thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.